Hey there, Manchester City fans. Are you ready for the hottest update straight from the Etihad? Because the market is heating up and the club is already making moves for next season. If there's one thing we can say for sure, it's that Pep Guardiola isn't going to rest until he transforms the squad once again. And let me tell you, big changes are coming. Let's get straight to the point. Manchester City has its eyes on a name that's leaving everyone stunned, including Thierry Henry. The main target right now is Florian Wirtz, one of Bayer Leverkusen's biggest revelations. The kid is playing at the top of his game, being a key player in a team that's flying in the Bundesliga. But the problem here isn't talent, it's the price. The asking price? Around 100 million, that's right. A fortune. And even for a club with City's financial power, that's a lot, especially considering that this transfer window is likely to be marked by a restructuring in several positions. The interest isn't just coming from England. Bayern Munich is also in the race, and Leverkusen itself still believes it can keep Wirtz for another year, especially if Xabi Alonso decides to stay. But City doesn't work with just one plan, and that's where the famous Plan B comes in, Ryan Cherki from Lyon. According to sources like Steve K, the French midfielder has been closely monitored as a much more affordable alternative. The price difference between the two is staggering. Cherki could be available for around 21 million, basically a quarter of what it would cost to bring in Wirtz. And let me tell you, his talent is also eye-catching. Thierry Henry, who knows Cherki well, has already said he's never seen anyone dribble like him. The kid is ambidextrous, skillful, and has that provocative style that can make a difference. Sure, he lacks consistency, but the raw potential is there. And with the right guidance, and who better than Guardiola for that? He could explode. City knows it needs to refresh the creative department, especially with Kevin De Bruyne's impending departure. You can't ignore it. The Belgian has been the brain of the team for almost a decade, and his absence will force a reinvention of the playing style. That's why names like Cherki, Wirtz, and even Morgan Gibbs-White are being closely examined. Now, shifting focus to defense. Even after bringing in reinforcements like Abdulkadir Kusanov in January, the club still wants another defender. It looks like John Stones could be on his way out. The center-back, who struggled with injuries throughout the season, only has 1 year left on his contract. It might be time to cash in. The name that's emerging as a realistic option is Omar Solet. He may not be widely known, but anyone who follows Serie A knows what he's capable of. Playing for Udinese, Solet was one of the positive surprises of the league. And the best part? He arrived for free, greatly increased his value, and is now valued at around $26 million. His stats are impressive. 1 goal, 1 assist, but above all, a defensive solidity that stands out. Liverpool and Chelsea are also interested, which shows that it's not just City who sees value in him. The most interesting thing is that his statistics compare to players like Eder Militao and Lisandro Martinez. This shows the kid is on the right track. Here comes an important point: cost-effectiveness. While Everton is asking for $75 million for Branthwaite, City could secure Solet for almost a third of that. The choice seems obvious, especially when you think about optimizing investments across several areas of the team. Hugo Viana, the new director of football, seems to be already getting hands-on in an intelligent way. Sticking to this rhythm, let's move on to a position that often goes unnoticed, but is crucial in Guardiola's system: left back. The name on everyone's lips right now is Destiny Udogie, currently at Tottenham. A modern fullback, strong in defense, efficient in attack, and constantly present in the offensive third. He's been impressing so much that he's caught the attention not only of City, but also other top clubs. But Udogie comes with a hefty price tag. Valued at over $50 million, he represents a considerable investment. Even so, the numbers are promising. Excellent in vertical passes, effective in tackles, and with a consistent arrival in the box. In other words, he fits perfectly into the profile that Guardiola loves. On the other hand, City already has a real gem in Gvardiol. Since he arrived, he's taken over the left-back position and become one of the Premier League's top defenders. At just 23, he's already being compared to big names and is treated internally as the Haaland of defense. The stats are insane. Among the best in the league for progressive passes and even touches in the opponent's box. Yes, a defender with remarkable attacking presence. The question now is it really worth bringing in another fullback? With Guardiola excelling and Nico O'Reilly stepping up when called upon, the debate is open. But if the goal is to keep the rotation strong and ensure depth in the squad, Udogie could be the cherry on top. Wrapping up this first part, we need to talk about attack. Yes, besides the midfield rebuild and defensive reinforcements, City is also keeping an eye on options for the offensive sector. One of the hottest names is Kenan Yildiz, a young talent from Juventus. At just 19, the kid has already played over 30 games in Serie A, and many consider him a future world star. His numbers are interesting: 6 goals, 3 assists, plus a personality that stands out. According to Jacek Kulig, a respected European scout, Yildiz is an audacious, ambidextrous, and extremely technical player, exactly the kind of talent Guardiola loves to shape. But then comes the issue of price. Juventus doesn't want to let him go cheaply, and City would be willing to invest over $75 million for him. That's a lot of money, especially when compared to other options in the market. Still, betting on future potential could pay off, just like it did with Haaland and Foden, for example. Yildiz isn't alone on the list. The club is also monitoring James Maddison from Tottenham, who could be available for around $60 million. More experienced and ready to contribute immediately, Maddison might be the safer choice. However, City is still considering all options, especially now that it needs to replace the huge impact left by De Bruyne's departure. With so many possibilities opening up for Manchester City in this transfer window, it is becoming increasingly evident that the club is planning a real restructuring of strategic areas in the squad. And while the attack is a constant concern, especially with the departure of Kevin De Bruyne, the defense is no different, and Pep Guardiola's keen eyes show that the work is far from over. The arrival of Josko Gvardiol last season was a true success. The Croatian center-back not only quickly established himself as a pillar in the defensive line, but also brought a new dynamic to the sector, being much more than a conventional defender. His ability to build play from the back, combined with his strength in individual duels, led to him being compared to Erling Haaland, but on the opposite side of the field. And this comparison is no exaggeration. Gvardiol's numbers show a dominant and constant presence, making him one of the top defenders in Europe in various offensive and defensive metrics. With Gvardiol consolidated, it would be natural to think that City would slow down in the pursuit of more center-backs. But that's not the case. The board understands that with the uncertainties surrounding John Stones, who has been dealing with frequent injuries and is in the final year of his contract, it is necessary to think about the future carefully. That's where Omar Solet comes in, a defender who may not be under the spotlight of most fans, but has caught the attention of big clubs precisely for being one of those talents that emerges quietly but shows impressive consistency and quality. Currently at Udinese, Solet had a meteoric rise since his free transfer at the start of the season. Even with limited time at the club, he was able to positively impact the team's defensive performance, becoming a key player for the Italian side. Udinese's asking price in the region of $26 million may seem high considering the limited number of games, but modern football places great value on center-backs who combine youth, imposing physicality, and ball skills. And that's exactly what he offers. Moreover, when compared to targets like Gerard Branthwaite, whose price exceeds $70 million, Solet represents a more affordable alternative, yet with similar potential. City's analysis department is not simply after famous names. The search is for tactical fit, the ability to adapt to the club's playing style, positioning intelligence, and game reading. And Solet seems to meet all these requirements. Another point that has caught attention behind the scenes at the Etihad is the defensive versatility that Solet can offer. He is not just a traditional center-back. He can also play as a right-back in a three-man defense or even as a deeper midfielder in emergency situations, something Guardiola greatly appreciates in his defensive players. The ability to adapt to different formations and tactical schemes is a trump card that could make all the difference over the course of the season. But it's not only in defense that City is paying attention. The left-back position is also on the agenda. Destiny Udogie from Tottenham is one of the standout names on the wish list. The player has had excellent performances in the Premier League, standing out not only for his defensive solidity, but also for his ability to break lines and get involved in offensive play. His modern style of play fits perfectly with Pep's philosophy. The issue is the price. It's estimated that Tottenham will ask for around $50 million to start any conversation. A high value, of course, but not out of reach for a club like City. And if Guardiola is now the star of the defense, the young Nico O'Reilly also deserves a mention. The youngster has shown maturity beyond his years when given opportunities in the first team. His performance as an improvised fullback was one of the pleasant surprises of last season. And while City is still seeking established names to strengthen the department, seeing academy players seizing opportunities shows that the club is balancing investments in big names with internal development, a clear sign of a well-structured project. Amid all of this, the departure of Kevin De Bruyne cannot be ignored. The confirmation that the Belgian will leave the club at the end of the season marks the end of an era at Manchester City. It has been years of brilliant assists, goals, tactical intelligence, and most importantly, leadership. Replacing him will not be a simple task, and Guardiola knows that he won't find another Kevin on the market. The search will be for a player who brings a new identity to the sector, someone capable of dictating the pace of the game, but also adding new characteristics to the team. This is where names like Florian Wirtz and Ryan Cherki come in. Wirtz, currently at Bayer Leverkusen, would be a major signing, a creative midfielder, extremely technical, who has been a standout in the Bundesliga. The problem, once again, is the price. Leverkusen is not willing to sell him for less than $100 million. Furthermore, with the German team on the rise and Xabi Alonso indicating that he may stay for another season, convincing Wirtz to leave may be complicated. In light of this, City is already considering alternatives, and Cherki emerges as an interesting plan B. The Lion player has a release clause of just over $21 million, a figure considered a bargain in the current market. Although he has not yet reached the same level as Wirtz, Cherki impresses with his one-on-one ability, ease with both feet, and playing style that resembles old-school classic number 10s. Thierry Henry even stated that he has never seen a young player with such skill at dribbling with both feet, a compliment that cannot be ignored. Cherki may not be the name that immediately catches the eye of the fans, but he is the type of gamble that could pay off handsomely, especially under Guardiola's tutelage. With proper tactical guidance and adaptation time, he could become one of the team's standout players in the coming years. And while Wirtz and Cherki are the center of attention in midfield, another name emerges as a possible attacking reinforcement, Kenan Yildiz, the young talent from Juventus. At 19, the forward has already made an impact in Serie A, accumulating strong performances and being tipped by many as a future star. Juventus may face financial difficulties, especially if they fail to qualify for the next Champions League, and this could open up space for City to make an aggressive move for the player. The proposal, according to rumors, could exceed $75 million, a considerable amount for someone so young, but one that makes sense given the huge potential surrounding Yildiz. He is ambidextrous, daring, technical, and has that style of play that wins over fans and coaches alike. His name has even circulated among the backrooms of United and Chelsea, which could make the negotiation even more competitive. Despite everything, the priority remains to find the ideal replacement for Kevin De Bruyne. The legacy left by the Belgian is immense, and the challenge of replacing a player with such tactical and emotional influence in the dressing room will be one of the greatest of Guardiola's career. Kevin De Bruyne's departure represents not just the loss of an extraordinary player. It marks the end of a golden era at Manchester City. It has been almost a decade of brilliance, of passes that no one else could see, of silent leadership, of decisive goals, and of an almost spiritual connection with the fan. De Bruyne was Guardiola's brain on the pitch, the bridge between the coach's tactical theory and the brilliant practice that made City one of the greatest forces in world football. For this reason, any direct replacement feels almost unfair. Manchester City is not just looking for a midfielder to fill a gap. They are trying to redefine the identity of their creative sector, and this task involves much more than money. It requires sensitivity, strategy, and patience. The board knows this. Guardiola knows it even more. That's why, although names like Florian Wirtz and Ryan Cherky are being carefully considered, the truth is that the next number 17 may come from a structural change within the team, rather than simply hiring a new star. Pep is used to adapting his team to the changes in football, and this could be another moment for reinventing City's style of play. This brings us to Manchester City's bigger plan this transfer window: to strengthen each department with depth, youth, and versatility. The idea is not just to replace players, but to build a squad capable of sustaining a new dynasty, just as it was when players like Ederson, Ruben Dias, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Haaland arrived. Each one represented a step in City's evolution, and now a new stage is being designed. The attacking wing is also being evaluated closely. Despite Haaland's dominant presence, the club wants more variety in their play down the flanks. Jack Grealish, although talented, hasn't delivered the consistency expected. Jeremy Doku, on the other hand, is a promising player, but he still fluctuates between brilliant matches and more discreet performances. For this reason, there has been a strong possibility behind the scenes of investing in players with explosiveness and creativity, especially those who can play in different areas of the pitch. One name that has resurfaced strongly is Pedro Neto from Wolverhampton. Despite his injury history, Neto is seen as a very smart option, as he combines Premier League experience with an aggressive style of play that could complement both Doku and Haaland well. The idea would be to have him as a solid alternative on the right, capable of breaking down defenses and also contributing defensively, something that Guardiola deeply values. But it doesn't stop there. Guardiola has also hinted that he could reinvent some current players in the squad. There are indications that Bernardo Silva, if he stays, could assume an even more central and orchestrating role, something close to what De Bruyne did, albeit with a different pace and style. Bernardo has the respect of the group, the tactical understanding, and the technique to take on this role. What remains to be decided is whether he will indeed stay at the club. Proposals from PSG and Saudi Arabia are not off the table, and his future could be one of the most important decisions of the season. Another area that City is carefully considering is strengthening the defensive midfield. Rodri is undoubtedly irreplaceable today, and perhaps the most consistent player of the Guardiola era. But precisely because of that, City wants someone who can share this responsibility in less important games or when physical fatigue sets in. Names like Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad and even João Neves from Benfica have been monitored. The goal is not to find someone who will take Rodri's place, but rather a luxury backup who can maintain the style of play even in his absence. It is in this context of restructuring that the new season is beginning to take shape. City knows that it's not just the squad that is changing. The Premier League landscape is becoming increasingly competitive. Arsenal is strong, Liverpool is entering a new era without Klopp, Aston Villa is consolidating, and Chelsea promises to heavily invest to regain prominence. Furthermore, United, even though unstable, still represents a direct rival in terms of influence and media pressure. The truth is, the next season will be a real test. Not only because of the ongoing reconstruction, but because the past success has set a new standard of demand. Today, City is the club to beat, and any stumble becomes headline news. Pep Guardiola is well aware of this. That's why his involvement in market decisions has never been more intense. Although the manager has hinted that he might leave the club in the next few years, he also shows a clear desire to leave a solid and sustainable legacy. He doesn't just want to win now. He wants to ensure Manchester City continues winning even after his departure. This mentality explains the attention given to players like Yildiz, Solet, and Cherky, athletes who can grow and mature within a well-defined system. Guardiola has already shown he can turn potential into stardom, and this may be the perfect time to do it again. Finally, we cannot forget the pressure of the Champions League. After the 2023 victory, the club wants to maintain its continental dominance. Early eliminations or below-par campaigns will not be looked upon favorably, especially with the squad being assembled. Therefore, every signing, every departure, and every renewal needs to be meticulously calculated. City is at a crossroads. De Bruyne's departure is symbolic, but what is being built may be even greater. New leaders will emerge, new names will shine. And if all goes well, Manchester City could begin a new era of dominance, with different faces, a new style, but with the same ambition, to win everything. And with that, fellow Manchester City fans, we see that the club's future is full of new possibilities and great challenges. The moves in the market are just the beginning of a transformation that could define the next decade for the citizens. What do you think about the options to replace De Bruyne? Will the new targets take City even further? Leave your opinion in the comments. If you enjoyed the content and are always keeping an eye on the latest news from Manchester City, don't forget to hit the like button below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any details of the upcoming updates. The transfer market is just heating up, and we'll keep you informed on everything. See you in the next video.